Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we'll be talking about the game 2 between Ichiriki and Iyama during the 73rd Oza title match. This game absolutely blew my mind. I thought I was going to make an intro for this game, but there's no need, because this game is simply the best game that I have seen this year. So let's jump right into it. Get your chips and beer ready, because you're going to be here for a while, and it's going to be really fun. Ichiriki is playing as black and Yama is playing as white. And they start out with a very ancient but also approved variation by AI. I always thought that this variation is quite good for black because black managed to connect both sides with just one move. It's a double 3-space extension, which seems very efficient, but actually this is just an equal game. White approaches, and Ichiriki as a fighter obviously chooses the 2-space low pincer, which is a very fierce variation. In this game, unlike in the previous game, Yama has a lot more fighting spirit and he decides to play the Keima. And then we go into a very fierce Joseki. I have spent 4 videos talking about this Joseki. If you're interested, you can check it out. I'll put the link in the description. But today they have chosen a different branch, and that is also very complex, which is for white to block on the third line. The main variation that I used to talk about is when white extend out. But today we're going to look at the theory behind white blocking here briefly. Black honeys, and white now jumps on the fourth line. This is the correct Joseki move. And here black has a lot of variations. In the actual game, black decided to extend out, which is one of the main variations. Another very fierce variation, or I would say more fierce variation, is for black to hane here, making sure that white cannot come out easily. Let me just briefly introduce you the main variation so you can do some research on your own if you're interested. White now plays the crosscut, black Atari, black takes, white Atari, and this is all forced. At this point, white will hane into the corner trying to kill black. Black attaches, white Atari, black extends, and white has to save the 2 stones. And here, black will play the hane, driving white out, and also black will also drive out as a consequence. And at this point, white's main variation is to clamp on the second line. Black bumps into white, white Atari, black connects, and white Atari. Here, black can extend out. And at this point, white plays a very aggressive move, right? Instead of letting black live, white connects on the second line, trying to kill the entire black group. Black first exchange a move in a corner that will extend the liberty in most cases, and here, black extends out, trying to fight on both sides. The correct variation is for white to jump on the second line. To prevent black, if you jump on the third line, this will become very severe against your group. That's why the main variation is for you to jump on the second line. And here, black turns, white plays the triangle. This will make sure that white can get out. And here, black's main variation is to attach. This is setting up a trap. If white extends out, then black can block on top. And if white just keeps going like this, then later on, this move will help out the fight over here, right? Black can use this, and this is very dangerous for white. So white doesn't want to give black moves on top. Therefore, white will simply hane into the corner and kill black. Black now net on top. White will push once and then come back and just kill the corner. Black connects, white Atari, and we are at the end of the Joseki. And here, black can spend another move to play a jump on top. We can see that black made a huge sacrifice to gain a very scary moyo towards the outside. And now this is a giant moyo that white has to deal with. But of course, this is extremely risky for black as well, because black has lost so much territory to start with. The result of this, according to AI, is that this is a slightly leading position for white. But of course, for human players, this is far from over. All right, let's now look at their actual game. So in the actual game, black decides to extend out in this direction. White still plays out the same sequence over here. This is all forced. And now white plays the shape move by playing the bamboo. And here, black hanes into the corner and live the corner. White blocks, black extends, and this will make sure that black lives. And here, so of course, locally, white can still peep in, but you can't really kill black. So white has to first save the group here. Black pushes, and now white cuts in the corner. This is a must-play move. If white forgets about this exchange, then that would lead to disaster because black can now throw in an Atari and white is captured. Of course, white cannot allow that to happen. So before all this happens, white can cut in the corner and black Atari. And therefore, that variation is not going to work anymore because white made an exchange first. White extends and black now jumps towards the center, threatening the 4 stones over here and also threatening white's group over here. White has to be very careful. If white plays without paying attention and played a very intuitive move here, then black has a very nice tesuji, that is the kosumi on the second line. And now white is really in trouble because if you extend down, then I can net on top. And how is white going to live here? I'm not so sure, right? Likely white cannot live here. If white turns on top, then obviously when black push, because of the tiger's mouth, black is able to cut. And that's also going to be a very fatal problem for white. So probably white's only choice is to squeeze here, letting black capture and connect. But obviously you can see that this exchange is terrible for white. So here, Yama plays correctly by turning and making sure his group over here is fine. And black now exchange 2 moves and extend on the second line. White connects and black hops out. Here, Yama plays a beautiful move. Most of the time, we would just think the correct move is to attach and extend, right? And this is just normal. But for top professionals, they are always more creative than us. And they decided to play, Yama decided to play in the center with a very weird shape. Black obviously takes the shape away from white, but you can see white's shape is still excellent. Even if black plays the tiger's mouth, white's peep here is going to be a sente. While we expected white to play something like this, the next move, Yama is really in a good state. You can feel like in this game, he just feels like fighting today. And then he goes for an elephant eye. So, or an elephant shape, I guess. So here, black cannot directly fight it out because this tactically doesn't work. White cuts, black connects, white Atari, black connects, and white turns on top. And we can see this is 3 versus 2, and it's white kills black. So in the actual game, Ichiriki pushes out, white now peeps, black pushes, white blocks, and black pushes once again. Ichiriki uses the most efficient way to fix the cutting point by weakening the stone over here. And here, Yama plays the shoulder hit. Instead of blocking here, which is very inefficient, Yama plays the tenuki, which I really liked, and then threatened the group over here. In the actual game, Ichiriki obviously decided to fight this because he's such a fighter. So he plays the kosumi and cut white off. But a more calm move is probably for black to just crawl here. But obviously it's not Ichiriki stuff, right? This is just too boring, even if it's better in terms of win rate. So, well, the variation goes like this. Black crawls, white now comes back. Black also fixed the center, and white extends, black plays the keima, and here white plays a move in the center. And everybody just settles down and becomes kind of a boring game where they're going to drag towards the end game. Ichiriki obviously hates that, right? He's a fighter. He's the same. After this game, I feel like he's the same as Miyutin or some of the greatest fighters of all time. It really changes how I think about Ichiriki after this game. It's just insane. He goes through the fight, and Yama obviously blocks on the third line, making sure black doesn't have a base. Black pushes on top, and white hanes. Here, black has to connect. Otherwise, there's a squeeze Atari. So black has to connect here, making sure white cannot connect underneath either. And here, white comes back to play the shape move. Black Atari, white connects, and black plays out the tiger's mouth. And here, white plays the jump over here. Instead of defending the 4 stones over here, Yama is going for a very fierce counterattack, right? So black is threatening the 4 stones here, but Yama's saying, before you threaten me, let me threaten you by jumping over here. And you can see that this game is going to be a fighting game, and there's no avoiding it. Black now jumps towards the center, and white plays the 2-space extension. Because black got out, so white now has to play a move to get himself out as well. And now black pushes on top. White jumps towards the center, black now plays the tengen, putting max pressure on white. White pushes out, putting max counter pressure on black. And the players really at each other's throat. And this is just, trust me, the start of the game, to be honest. And here, black jumps out, white plays out the kosumi, and black also play a kosumi. This kosumi is very strong because it gets rid of white's ice space over here. So this group also has to run for life. White also plays out the kosumi, And here, black decides to block, making sure that because white plays a Kosumi here, there's a potential for the peep here, looking at the double weaknesses. Therefore, black plays a move, strengthening himself to prepare for an attack on white's group over here. Yama obviously fixed the wedging problem with the tiger's mouth. This is supposed to be a sente, but Ichiriki is going nuts in this game. He goes for the kill. He's just like in closing here, saying, hey, Yama, you better go back and live in here. Yama says, absolutely not. I'm going to go for the most fierce counterattack. You kill my group here, I'm going to kill you over here. And let's see who kills who. Black connects. White now pierced through the center, completely destroying the Moyo and put a lot of pressure on black. But here, Ichiriki just claims the dragon right away. So this group is just getting killed now. And let's see if Yama can actually kill the group in the center. Yama plays the Kosumi. Black plays the Kosumi. So this is so aggressive by Ichiriki because Ichiriki says, this is mine, but this isn't yours. I'm going to get out and you're just going to lose this group for no reason. You're just going to lose this for no compensation. Black kicks over here. White extends. Black pushes. White hones. Black plays the tiger's mouth, forcing white to connect on the second line. And the next move, Ichiriki plays the shape move. This is also the AI top recommendation. And you can see how strong Ichiriki's reading skill is, right? Most of us would just play something like the hane, but Ichiriki plays the AI recommendation in this type of complex situation. And this move is really strong because white doesn't have a way to fight it immediately. If white tries to cut black off, black can cut on top. White connects, and now black has a hane. White cuts, black connects, and white connects, and here black can drag the stone back. And we can see that this is going to be black kills white in here. In the actual game, Yama realizes how strong this is, and he decides to play the extension, making sure that there's not a lot of weaknesses here, and then he prepares for an attack. Ichiriki attaches out, securing his dragon in the center. White pushes, and here black blocks from the outside. If now black cuts over here, then white's going to Atari. Black Atari, white captures, and at this point, we can see that, yes, black managed to get out, like maybe through here, but because white is really strong over here. Now, white is really, really strong. This is like a rock solid group. Then this part might actually revive because there's still a lot of Aji in here, right? White can make use of this kind of stuff and then some sort of push and cut over here. And this is going to cause problems for black. So Ichiriki not only is a great fighter, but he also understands what's going on the board. And therefore, he plays the block over here. Also the correct play, which is really impressive. I would have definitely cut here without thinking, but Ichiriki blocked on the left side, just like AI would do. Such a high quality game so far. The game is still completely equal at this point. You might not believe it because Yama lost the whole group here, but because the insecurities that black has and the Aji that white has remaining, this is somehow equal. White Atari, black extends, and now white connects the two stones back, further threatening the group in the center. Ichiriki has to use the triangle to get back, and white now extends outside, towards the outside. Black plays the tiger's mouth, making sure the two stones can't be captured. White attaches, black hones, and here Yama plays the highlight of the game. The attach over here, it's so impressive. Like I haven't seen this type of high quality Tetsuji in a while. It's just so much reading behind it, and it's like the good shape and also a bunch of reading behind that. And I can feel how much effort that Yama has spent behind this move. It comes with years of practice. It's just the reason why he was the number one of the top Japanese players of all time. All right, next up we have Ichiriki. We'll see what this move does in a bit. So black plays the hane, white cuts, black connects, and white now capture the stone on the second line. So these exchanges is just exchanging, making sure that there's some Aji remaining over here. And now Ichiriki decides to play the wedge Atari. And we can see now Yama plays the Keima. This is tightly connected to these two stones that Yama played. Here Ichiriki decided to Atari first, white connects, and now black attaches here. So first of all, black looks like he's in trouble because this group cannot die, right? If this whole dragon dies, then that's game over. So black has to break out through here. So this is a really the most fierce close body combat that you can think about. It's just insane. Black attaches, white cuts, black cuts, and white now plays the Atari over here. And all of a sudden, why did Yama play a move over here, right? You can now understand. Because black cannot run, right? This stone, he thought about it, right? He thought about this was going to happen. And then he prepared a stone for the ambush, and now black cannot run anymore. And that's the reason why we had this shape move. Of course, Ichiriki won't run something that he can't run. Therefore, he plays the Atari over here. And white connects in the center. Black now connects. This is a slight inaccuracy. Ichiriki should have probably squeezed over here. And white cannot really push and cut black here. Okay, first of all, this cutting point, because the squeeze over here doesn't really work, thanks to the work that Ichiriki did over here, right? Because there's an Atari, Atari, and Atari, right? So this doesn't work. And so the only cutting point that's effective is this cutting point. But if white goes for the cut, then black can run the stone out now because there's no more ladder. You have very tight liberty. So if white goes for the trade, this is not really a trade because black becomes so thick in the center, and this dragon is feeling all the chill in the spine right now, right? So this dragon is going to run for a long time. Even if this dragon managed to survive, which is already an amazing accomplishment if you can survive under this nuclear center. But if you manage to survive, you're going to have to pay for it everywhere you go. And this is just going to be a losing game for Yama. In the actual game, Ichiriki connected over here. It's a slight inaccuracy, but definitely not a mistake because Ichiriki has super deep reading behind all of this. And here Yama extends towards the center, making sure black cannot play the Atari over here. So this is a must-play move. And at this point, Ichiriki cannot really connect because if you connect, Yama will jump down. It doesn't mean you're out of trouble, right? Even if you connect it, you might just connect and make everything die. So here, Ichiriki absolutely has to extend back. And at this point, Yama cuts over here. And looks like this is game over for Ichiriki because, you know, the dragon is just dead. Let's look at what's happening with the Liberty fight over here. If black goes directly for the Liberty fight, then white can Atari and then capture, okay? And then we can just do a Liberty count because this is fairly simple. White has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and black has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is going to be white kills black, and Ichiriki can resign. I don't care what you get outside. If this whole thing dies, it's game over. So at this point, it looks like Ichiriki is just lost, right? And Yama just won this Liberty fight. But this game is just far from over. The next move, Ichiriki plays out the best tesuji of the year. I don't know if it's going to be the best tesuji of the year, but it will definitely be the candidate. The next move, Ichiriki plays the ghost move of the year. That is to run the stone that you can't run. And yeah, this is such a ghost move. And this shocked everybody. And this was such a beautiful moment in the game. And it shows you that Ichiriki is definitely one of the greatest fighters in the world right now. If you want to dive deeper and support what I'm doing, check out my Patreon. I regularly post exclusive high-quality content on Joseki's pro game breakdowns and even full courses. Stuff you won't find anywhere else. The link is in the description. Thanks so much. Let's continue. Well, Yama didn't have to think here, right? The only move he can play is to just capture the two stones, obviously. And at this point, Ichiriki captures the stone in the center. And all of a sudden, we can see that if Yama's not careful, this is going to be black kills white. Let's see why that is. If black connects over here, then if white connects, then black will play the tiger's mouth to seal white in. And white goes for the Liberty fight. And then we can see this is going to be black kills white, right? Because black has 3 liberties and white only has 2 left. So that's the first variation that doesn't work for Yama. What about this double Atari over here? If white plays out the double Atari, black will connect the 2 stones. White captures and black connects. And here, if white goes for the Liberty fight, black can also go for the Liberty squeeze. White Atari, black connects, and white now squeezes. Looks like black is in trouble, but here black can capture the stone. White can, so white has two options. White can connect over here, but it's the same as if he didn't connect here at all, right? If you connect here, you're down to 2 liberties, which is going to be the same. There's going to be a ko. So let's look at the variation where white just goes directly for the liberty fight. Black takes, white has to connect, black Atari from behind, white captures, black Atari, white captures back, and here it looks like this is gonna be white kills black because white somehow managed to have 2 liberties with this ko threat, with this ko over here. However, black has local ko threats, and that's the problem. Black can now Atari over here, white has to answer, and here black can take back. Maybe white can struggle to find 1 or 2 ko threat over here, right? By maybe pushing here. First of all, I'm not sure if black has to respond to this, but even if black responds, we can see later on black has another ko threat, then another one, then another one. There's a bunch of ko threats over here. So this is definitely going to be black kills white because white doesn't have enough ko threat to fight black here. And this could be game over for Iyama. Now, what are some of the other variations? If white connects first and then play the Atari, then black is going to connect. When you take, I'll connect, and you start a liberty squeeze, and we can see that it's going to become the same story, right? When we squeeze all liberties, you have to rely on this ko to survive. But then, once again, black has so many ko threats all over the place, and this is just game over for white. So with this ghost move, Yama is in trouble, right? It used to be Ichiriki is like kind of just dead. But then after this ghost move, Yama looks like he's in serious trouble. Like, how do you get out of this? This is so hard. But Yama is just Yama. He finds a way. Instead of connecting, in the actual game, Yama plays the Atari over here, resisting with the ko over here. Black in the actual game prevent the double Atari, and Yama fights the ko in the center. Black throws in, white captures, black takes back, and Yama uses the ko on the left side. Ichiriki has to answer that, and white takes back, and here black Atari. And at this point, Yama goes for a trade because there's so many ko threats. Therefore, white decides to get rid of the ko. There's no point for black capturing back because white can Atari from top, and then this is not going to work for black. So the move in the center gets rid of the problem over here. But of course, Ichiriki gained a bunch of compensation by Ataring over here. The next move, Ichiriki plays the Atari on the second line. And we can see that not only black got out with the double Atari here, but also white kind of has to struggle for the life and death. Now here, white can live, but the reason Yama chooses to not live in here is because he has to pay such a heavy price. First of all, black captures the 2 stones. White now has to play this move to live, which means this wedge Atari, white cannot even answer. White has to immediately make 2 eyes. And at this point, black can go for the second line peep to bully the corner. White has no choice but to connect. Black squeezes a sente and then crawl the stone back. Now white has to turn, and black extend is also a sente against the corner. So after this sequence, we can see that white's corner is getting bullied, and black also got rid of the weakness that white has invested, a move over here. The result of this is that this is obviously a better position for black at this point. So Yama cannot play like this. In the actual game, Yama decides to go for a fight. He pierces through here. Ichiriki obviously doesn't want to give up the 5 stones. White also crawled the stone back, and here black takes, white Atari on top, and black squeeze Atari. White captures, and black now connects. The connecting is a very nice move because it forces white to now connect a bunch of times, and black is able to get this Atari in sente. White connects, and now black plays the Keima. Not only connecting the 2 groups, but also putting max pressure and max Aji on white. Later on, there's a squeeze over here, and black might get another Atari over here. And also, there's some weird Aji in the center. So, at this point, it looked like the game was about to end, but actually both players, with very nice reading, managed to reach an equal position once again, right? Ichiriki managed to break through here, right? And temporarily have this group, half captured. And Yama was able to capture the center over here, forming a lot of territory over here. The game is still completely equal and chaotic at this point. Next move, White decides to go to make this group alive. Black captures, and White lifts this group right here. Next up, we have Ichiriki playing the Keima to defend the corner. Maybe a more accurate move for Ichiriki to play is to use this opportunity to exchange this move with White extension over here. This will later on make this group even more secure, because later on there's a chance that you can't exchange this move anymore. Alright, so in the actual game, Yama plays the Keima, protecting the corner. And here White goes for the 3-3 invasion to test Ichiriki out. The reason White is testing Ichiriki is because there's still some remaining Aji. So if Black wants to go for the kill, then he has to be very careful about these stones. That's the idea of the invasion. Black blocks, White hanes, and Ichiriki is very aggressive, and he actually goes for the kill. And at this point, Yama plays another beautiful Tesuji on the second line, trying to connect with the Aji in the corner. And at this point, as we thought that Ichiriki would just respawn locally, Ichiriki all of a sudden drags out this group over here by the jump. And in the actual game, Yama plays the jump in the center. At this point, it's hard for viewers to understand, which is why my commentary is, I hope it's useful. Because the reason you don't push and cut here, right, which is very surprising, like how come you don't push and cut and just secure this, is because Black can Atari and play the Hane here. This is Ascente. White has to go back, and Black Atari. White captures. So here, Black was able to gain a little wall over here in Stente, and for top professionals like them, this little wall here is huge, and it might affect the life and death of the corner at the top right. I know you think I might be joking, but the fact that you have a little wall over here, that's exactly what I said, right? The fact you have a little wall over here could affect the life and death over here. And this was what Yama was worried about. They live in a different world, guys. All right, so Yama goes for aggression, and he jumps over here, and he tries to kill this group in a very big way. In the actual game, Ichiriki extends the stone out. This looks like a normal move, but this is actually so much reading behind it. Let's see what Ichiriki was reading, okay? So if Black directly drags this group out with the bamboo, then White can play the Keima. Black attaches, White hanes, Black crosscut. White has to bump into Black to prevent this from collapsing. Black connects, White extends, and here Black cuts. White Atari, Black connects, and White Atari. And here Black keeps extending, and White keeps extending. And here we can see this temporarily doesn't work. But if Black has a few more stone over this area, then this is going to work, and it's going to be Black kills White. So Ichiriki read this whole thing out, and he doesn't play anything, and he just secretly plays something like this. And then he read out everything, right? Like he plays this. And it looks like we're trying to kill the corner, but it's a trap because he's looking at the rebellion over here. And Yama also reads it out, and he plays a tiger's mouth to fix the problem over here. With this tiger's mouth, obviously Black cannot rebel anymore because now White doesn't have to capture you this way. White can jump here and you're probably dead, right? So this move kills the group over here. So it's crazy. And this is why I kind of do commentary, because otherwise how can we possibly know that this is what they were thinking? All right, so at this point, White kills the group over here, and Ichiriki decided in the actual game spend another move, making sure that the corner is completely dead. At this point, the game, once again, still completely equal. And here, Yama goes for the final fight. Because Yama realizes that if he doesn't do anything here, Black is probably ahead in terms of territory. Therefore, he goes for the invasion here. It looks like a dead area, right? But you'll be really surprised like how much Aji it has over here. Black connects. White now plays the squeezing move, the triangle move, to make a little bit of ice space. And now we can see there's also some potential for White to make ice. So Ichiriki has to be very careful. And in the actual game, Ichiriki block on the second line. And this happened to be, I would say, the first very big mistake by Ichiriki. And I wouldn't really blame him, but because the reading here is so complex. The correct move here, And if Ichiriki could have played this in the actual game, that would be so awesome. This would be an insane game that we would remember for decades. But I mean, it probably already is. But the next move, Ichiriki should have played Kosumi on the first line. And this is another ghost move, right? This is another like a super Tesuji. So the reason black plays out this first line Kosumi is to kill this whole group. And this is the only vital point that you should play, like to kill this whole group. Now, what's going to happen is white will play this wedge in the center, looking for Aji. Black extends. If black doesn't want to go, black has to extend. White pushes through, black cuts, and white cuts. And here, obviously, black has to cut this, right? So black cuts over here. White pushes, and black has to play the bamboo. Otherwise, there's a clamp, and the two stones are going to fall. So you have to play the bamboo to protect the two stones. White has 4 liberties over here. And now white can go for a liberty fight. Let's see what happens over here. Black Atari, white connects, and black now connect. We can see that black also has 4 liberties. It's white's turn. So white will first of all connect over here. Otherwise, there's the Atari and extend. So white first of all gets rid of that. Black goes to the vital point. So black is not going to try to fight this group. Rather, black just need to capture this group over here. And then we can see, if you're a high down level player, you probably know that this is the shape move to kill this group. You probably haven't done a liberty fighting exercise over here. But let's see what happens. White goes for the fight, black crawls, white squeezes, black connects, and white connects, and here black blocks. And we can see that thanks to our Kosumi forming a tiger's mouth, white cannot Atari over here. And therefore, this is going to be black kills white. So black managed to kill both groups. This is why Ichiriki should have played the Kosumi on the first line. Alright, so Ichiriki in the actual game missed that, which is perfectly normal. He has done so much calculation before. Maybe he's just a little burned out. And then he played the block over here. Yama catches this chance, and then he plays the wedge in the center. Black extends, and here white plays out the Kosumi. This is really the vital point for Liberty fight. And yeah, black could not have missed that, but missing that was a very big mistake, and it leads to very serious consequences. Black now blocks, and white connects over here, right? Looking at the tiger's mouth to live. So black goes in, making sure white can live, and white now push and cut over here. And at this point, black Atari and then cut. And here white pushes over here. When white plays this move, black cannot continue trying to kill anymore. If black gets greedy and try to kill, then this is going to be white kills black, because we can see at this point you can already tell this is going to white kills black, because white gets the vital move, and black only has 3 liberties. Looks like you can Atari here, hoping white would connect, but actually white can Atari from behind. When you capture, I can Atari from behind once again. It looks like it's going to be black kills white, but it's not, because when you connect, I can capture the whole thing, right? So this is going to be white kills black, and this is game over for Ichiriki. All right, let's go back here. When white pushes here, Ichiriki realizes his mistake. He regrets it, but what can he do? Here he has to go back and kill white's group over here, letting Yama playing the capture in the center. And at this point, Ichiriki is falling behind in this game, and white is having a very clear lead in this game. But the game isn't over. Ichiriki is going for the most ferocious counterattack. He extends back, and now he jumps towards the center, trying to fight everything. And I really love Ichiriki for doing this. It's just making this game so exciting. Black is not lost. He's trying to drag this whole thing out, putting a counterattack on white over here. White now, so Yama didn't get soft and just play like this, because this allows black to come here and form some territory, and this will allow black to come back quite a bit, and it's not easy to convert this into a victory anymore. So Yama is absolutely right to play very tough and making sure black cannot get out. Black plays the Kosumi towards the left side. If black plays the Kosumi towards the right side, white will simply cut off the connection. When black jumps, then white will poke a double weakness. Looks like black can use this to maneuver. When white captures, black connects. But it looks like you connected, but did you really connect? Because when white pokes at your weakness, we can see there are double cutting points. and therefore that is game over for black. Black cannot connect back. In the actual game, Ichiriki, just like a beast trying to break out of a cage, poke at white's weakness, really playing the most sharp moves possible. White plays the Kosumi to connect back, and white pushes. Black pushes. White plays the Kosumi, very nice move, cutting off the connection over here. And Ichiriki is so resilient. He plays the Hane, the wedge, a bunch of tesujis, and then the tiger's mouth, forming a bunch of ko. White Atari, black forms one ko, and then forms the second ko. And at this point, Yama has to play very careful, because now black is rock solid here with a bunch of ko's. Like, what kind of monster is this thing? White now has to worry about the cutting point over here. Therefore, he plays a move, making sure he's okay first. And at this point, Ichiriki plays the Atari, forcing white to connect. And black pushes on top. White extends, black Atari on the first line. White has to connect, and here black Atari. White captures, black pushes on top. That's a co-threat. White blocks, black captures back, and white connects. And at this point, Ichiriki plays the squeeze here. Not only squeezing the shape, but also looking at the cutting point. You can see how aggressive Ichiriki has become when he's like behind. It's such a very fierce fighter. I really like his style. And at this point, Yama has to respond to everything very carefully. One misstep, it could mean Ichiriki coming back into this game. White connects over here. Black now plays the bamboo, connecting everything back. Very greedy, right? Ichiriki doesn't even care what happens over here. He's gambling on life and death, just connecting everything back. And here, Yama pierces through into black's territory. Black plays a sente exchange over here, and then connect on the first line. He has to live here, right? So because black doesn't have an eye, so first of all, connecting here, making sure this is an eye. This is obviously a sente. White has to block that. And then after the Atari, Ichiriki finally makes another move to make sure he has a second eye over here. Yama blocks, black extends. This is an eye. When you take, I can connect. This is a double ko, so white can never cut black off. You take here, I can take back. All right, so black is alive, that's for sure. And here Yama has to be careful, because if you just try to kill black here, right, you get too happy, you try to kill black here, guess what's gonna happen? Black pokes here. Where's your second eye? Hello, you only have one eye. It's dead. Right? If this dragon is dead, I don't care. I don't care what happens over here. It's over. So to play against Ichiriki, you really have to be scared all the time, right? Like, he's trying to kill you all the time. So now white plays the Atari. Here, if black takes, then white is gonna block over here. This is a sente because of the liberty issues here. But that means that, you know, black has to go back and play a move, which means that probably here is the best move. And now it's Yama's turn. Then Yama can play anything. You're probably dead here, right? So this is pretty hopeless for Ichiriki. So guess what Ichiriki played? Ichiriki goes berserk. He plays here, saving the dragon first and letting white capture over here. This is why I said you should have probably exchanged the wedge Atari first, then you wouldn't have a problem. But that's all too late. Ichiriki lost the corner over here. Obviously, this should be a resigning moment, but Ichiriki thinks it's far from over. He goes for the final counterattack. First peeping over here, white connects, and here black plays the Hane. Another very cunning trap by Ichiriki. If white just block here, all of a sudden, guess who resigns? I cut over here, how are you going to get home? Hello, your dragon here. Like, it's dead, right? And the reason without the Hane, white cannot do it is because now if you cut, then white can actually pierce through here. With a stone over here, then black can defend it. Right? So that's the trap that Ichiriki was setting up. Black plays the Hane, and Yama realizes that he plays flawlessly in this game. He just connect, protecting everything. Hopeless for Ichiriki. Ichiriki crawls into the corner, white Hanes, and black plays the Hane on the first line. Here, it will be a very awesome finish if Yama could have played the peep on the second line to finish this game off. This is such a brilliant move, and it leads to very interesting variation as well. Black connects, white cuts, black Atari, white connects, and black now connects on the first line. It looks like it's an obvious liberty fight, but really it isn't, because it's a lot of reading in there. White plays the first line tesuji, forcing black to connect, and then crawl on the second line. Black Hanes, White Hanes. Here, Black cannot do anything because there's an Atari and capture. So Black has to connect. White also connects, and that's a must-play move to form an eye. And now, because White is looking at jumping back home, Black has to block that by playing the Kosumi here. And at this point, White has a Tesuji to finish this game. Right after this game, probably Black's gonna resign. If Black crawls, White will pull the stone back. Black captures. White cuts. Looks like Black is home, but is Black home? Because White can Atari, and then there's a snapback, and this is game over. If Black squeeze over here, then White will simply extend on the first line. When Black captures 2 stones, White Atari and throw in. This is going to be White kills Black. Also, game over for Ichiriki. Alright, so that would be the variation if Yama decides to peep in. But in the actual game, Yama look at the board. He's like, yeah, I'm very ahead. Why go to that complication? He decided to just Hane here. And Black goes for the kill. White connects. Black pushes, breaking the eye. White connects. And Ichiriki obviously has to spend a move here. This is just 2 weeks. There's million cutting points over here. So he plays out the Tiger's Mouth. And here Yama plays the Kosumi to live the dragon. And Black connects. And White also connects over here. And at this point, Yama managed to live this dragon with no problem. And the loss over here cannot be compensated. So at this point, Black extends on the first line. And White plays out the Kosumi over here. And this ends up to be the last move of the game. At this point, Ichiriki resigned. This brings the tournament back to 1-1. And they're still, if they go all the way to 2-2 and then 3-2, we'll see all 5 games. I feel like this tournament is getting really exciting. This game, I absolutely loved it. I haven't seen this such high quality game in a while. I would easily put this as the best game of this year. I hope there's more from them. I hope I'm wrong, right? So we can see better games. But anyway, hope you guys enjoy this awesome fighting game, and I'll see you guys in the next one.